Ty Hayworth, Informative Speech. Alright, so everyone in here, we're at college, and everyone wants to get a job and most likely work in an office one day. Well, as a football player, playing football in your position is like working in an office and having different roles. Like your offensive linemen have a certain role, your skill positions have a certain role, like the quarterback and wide receiver. Today I'm going to talk about being an offensive lineman and the keys to being a successful offensive lineman. Harry Highstand, the offensive line coach at Notre Dame, who's been coaching for 33 years on the offensive line, he said, "I think it is a fundamental approach to the game. We are going to be sound in technique and fundamentals." Being a successful offensive lineman, you need to be mentally prepared and have good hands and have very quick feet. It's essential to have these three things because without each one, you will not be a successful offensive lineman. And the most important thing first is to be mentally prepared as an offensive lineman. 41-year coach, offensive line coach from Florida State, Rick Trinkett says, "Film study is essential at all levels of football, from high school to professional. It's very important that you know what's going to happen before it actually happens. So this requires almost more time of film study, of watching your opponent and watching what he's going to do, whether he lines up off the ball, on the ball, whether he's going to shoot inside, what his favorite moves are, so you know what's going to happen before it actually happens. Because when you get out on the field, you have a split second to react once that ball is snapped before what he does. So you have to be much quicker than him. So with the film study, it's very, very important to knowing what's going to happen next. It's very important to know what's going to happen, but if you do not have the technique, you will not be able to be successful in executing each play as it turns out. An offensive lineman can hold the defender's chest, but not outside around the shoulders. The target of the offensive lineman's left hand is on the left number, and right hand is on the right number. This is very important with your hand placement because anything outside of it is going to be an illegal block or a hold. As an offensive lineman, everyone always gets onto them about holding, and that's the main penalty that usually gets called for them. It's actually legal to hold, but your hand placement must be right inside the numbers, or if it's caught outside the numbers, you will be called for the holding. It's also very important for your hand placement because it gives you leverage. Everyone knows what leverage means. It's to have an advantage over your opponent. And when you have an advantage, you're going to be able to move the D-line who weighs 330 pounds off the ball and like that and give your running back a hold and shoot for 75 yards for the game-winning touchdown. And with that, if you don't with your good hands, you must work that into having good feet. And with good feet, you have to have leverage. You have to know what steps to take, when to take them, and have the right power coming from your feet, through your hips, through your hands, to successfully move your defensive lineman off the line of scrimmage. There's multiple steps that you must take to be successful in your footwork. NFL Hall of Fame offensive lineman Rayfield Wright, who was also selected to the 1970s All-Decade team, he said he was interviewing a sports reporter. He was being interviewed by a sports reporter on a Dallas Cowboys offensive lineman making a comeback from a strain of injuries. He said, "When I look at Free, I look at his footwork because as an offensive lineman, footwork is the most important thing. If you don't have the right footwork, you're not going to get it done. When you're pass setting a defensive lineman, when you're throwing the ball, if you don't have good footwork, he's going to redirect, come inside, and he's going to make the play and make the sack. And then that's the only time really you get noticed as an offensive lineman, when you do bad. We're unsung heroes. And by that, we don't get any recognition for the team doing good. Usually you get your quarterbacks, your running backs, your wide receivers. They all get the glory for scoring the touchdowns, for making the plays. But no one usually gives the offensive lineman the credit when things go good, only when things go bad. So if you don't have good footwork, that comes into play. Like I said, being an offensive lineman, playing positions on the football field is a lot like being in an office. You have a specific role, and if you don't execute your role, you're not gonna succeed as a group. And the main part of being on a football team is executing as a group. 15-year NFL offensive lineman Gray Rudgeman said, "If you're versatile, tough, and smart, you will be a successful offensive lineman." Also, Jeff Duvendick said, the offensive coordinator from Northern Michigan, says, "The key to controlling the line of scrimmage includes quick hands, feet, upper and lower body leverage. With those, that is the most important things to be an offensive lineman. And if you can take anything from that, take it that everything works together as a role as a football player."